Hello travelers! I am Lorekeen, your traveler's guide to Tyria. Welcome to a standalone episode about one of the most famous places in Tyria, Droknar's Forge. Recent events give us a better look at this beloved landmark, allowing us to see what was, what is, and what could have been. Long ago, the tribes of Droknar were united under one banner, that of Droknar, one of the most beloved kings. His seat, known as Droknar's Forge, became the capital of their nation for a while. Back in Guild Wars 1, this place could have been reached either by completing the Dragon's Lair, a mission in which you would seek Glint's advice on striking back at the White Mantles, or by fighting, or alternatively running, all the way through Lorekeen's Pass, Dreadnought's Drift, Snake Dance, and Tailless Chute, and so, doing what the community affectionately called the Drox runs. After completing the quest A Time for Heroes, you could even have the honor of meeting the ghost of the Great King, which would reward you with one of his weapons. At that time, Droknar's Forge was the only town in central Tyria where you could craft quality maximum rating armor. You could also buy some really nice weapons from our friend here, Sarah. Like many other races, the dwarfs were affected by the appearance of the destroyers in 1072, during the events of the Eye of the North campaign. In fact, this event was prophesied by the Great Dwarf himself in the Tome of the Lorekeen, written around the time the Elder Dragons last awakened. The Great Dwarf is the god of Droknar dwarves. He is said to have forged the dwarves on top of their sacred mountain, Anvil Rock, and personally taught the first ones to smith and fight. In Guild Wars 2, you can visit Anvil Rock during the fight of Dragonstorm. When the destroyers started attacking, the Stone Summit, a guild of xenophobic dwarves, tried to use the Tome of the Lorekeen to absorb the power of the Great Destroyer. Fortunately, a hero and a group of dwarfs, which included Kilroy Stonekin and High Priest Alcar, ventured into the mine called Sorrow's Furnace, and managed to steal the book, thus momentarily stopping the Stone Summit. We talked about Kilroy Stonekin in the series about Queensdale, I put a link in the description. Under the direct supervision of King Jalus himself, who you meet quite often if you have a Revenant, the High Priest Alcar studied the tome and wrote a sanitized version of that ancient text. It is possible that this copy is the version uncovered during forging the Pact chapter in your personal story. From the Tome of the Lorekeen, the dwarfs learned about the prophecy and the change that awaited them. King Jalus went on to find the hammer of the Great Dwarf, and with its help, in 1078, the king performed the rite of the Great Dwarf, turning his people to stone, making them living weapons against the Great Destroyer. More than that, the ritual connected the dwarfs into a collective consciousness, thus becoming themselves the Great Dwarf. This allowed them better coordination and ultimately, better fighting skills. They were victorious, but few survived to tell the story. In the following years, the majority of remaining dwarfs either died or retreated in the depths of Tyria to fight the remaining destroyers. Even the Brotherhood of the Dragon, an ancient order of dwarves that revered Glint, and later Vlost, passed their duty to their human successors and then descended to the depths. The Brotherhood of the Dragon started precisely because the dwarfs understood that Glint was different and they recognized the importance she could play in saving all the races of Tyria from the dragon cycle. So they forged an alliance with her and allowed Glint into their minds. By the way, letting Glint in their minds is how the Zephyrites gained those fancy skills you can use during the festival at the Labyrinth and Cliffs, or inside the Sanctum Sprint activity. The dwarfs from the Brotherhood went on to build a shrine to Glint in Droknar's Forge, and kneeling there would summon the vision of Glint, her avatar. Magister Ogden Stonehealer is one of few members of the Brotherhood who underwent the rite, but remained behind, and today we find him helping the Durmond Priory compile the lore on the Elder Dragons. After the dwarfs retreated, the great city of Droknar's Forge remained abandoned and today we find its ruins at the bottom of the Mire Sea, in Mount Maelstrom, where a tribe of kelp farming quaggins made their home. And we thought that was all there was to the story of this place. Quite big spoilers follow ahead, so be warned. With the release of the Secrets of the Obscure expansion, we got a glimpse of how the Forge would have looked like in Guild Wars 2. Droknar's Light is a fractal whose development was approved by Mabon. After many failed attempts, the wizards managed to find a moment and a place in time where they could gain access to the Forge, as a contingency plan. Based on some more logs that we find scattered around, we can suspect that the time of the fractal is somewhere between 1072 and 1078, as the papers talk about the lost battle at Thunderhead Keep. But in our reality, a Hiro on their long journey across the Shiver Peaks during the Prophecies campaign, on their way from Ascalon to Kryta, joined King Jalus Ironhammer and so helped the dwarves win this battle. In the fractal we find General Hugo Bronzebeard, the author of those notes, confirming that the war goes poorly, and that most likely, this will be the location of their last stand. In Guild Wars 1, during Prophecies, you could meet Hugo right after you learned from Glint how to fight against the Mursaw. Hugo was only a captain at that moment, and he is the one that sends you to seek the Seer, a mission that would take you through the Ice Caves of Sorrow, the Iron Mines of Moladun and all the way to Thunderhead Keep, where you would help King Jalus Ironhammer retake his capital, thus forging an alliance between the dwarves and the Ascalonians. It looks like in this reality, either you died at Thunderhead Keep or you never made your way through the Shiver Peaks to begin with, so it is possible that you are the variable in this fractal after all. Although another divergent point from our reality is that the statue is rotated 180 degrees, so maybe whoever decided to do that is to blame for the fate of these dwarves. And as we can see, the dwarves are still flesh and bones, so this is before 1078, when the Rite of the Great Dwarf happened. Although there is a very strong case to be made that if you didn't make your way through the Shiver Peaks, then you didn't go to Sorrow's Furnace, so no Tome of the Rubicon and no Rite of the Great Dwarf either. Whatever year might be, the wizards paused the time for this fractal, then sealed and archived the research, with strict access available only to the highest ranking wizards. However, the wave of magic released at the end of Dragons materialized this fractal into Tyria, allowing us to visit it, and for the first time, actually gain access inside and see the forge itself. More than that, we can see the forge in action during the meta event for the map, when Lair will attempt to use it in order to forge a key for the wizard's tower. Another place we can visit is Glint's Shrine, where once again we can kneel and, for a moment, summon her vision, and grab a hidden achievement. And like in Guild Wars 1, right next to the shrine we find Consular Frodak Steelstar, another member of the Brotherhood of the Dragon. As in Weaponsmith, he helped Glint create the Dragon's Blood Spear, carved from one of Krauka-Torik's own spines. The weapon was made at another great forge, the one from Thunderhead Peaks. Destiny's Edge tried to use the spear to kill Krauka-Torik, but their plan failed as one of their team members was absent. Logan Thackeray left before the battle started, to go defend Queen Jenna from the dragon's minions during the Ogre Revolt. This created a lot of drama and caused the death of both Glint and Snaff, Zojia's mentor. As the commander, you meet Consular Frodak Steelstar again when your own fight against Krauka-Torik takes you to Thunderhead Peaks. This time he is a ghost, as he died before the Rite of the Great Dwarf took place. But death doesn't stop him from giving us valuable information about the spear and the handling of the Light of Deldrimmer, or just keep us company during the Droknar's Gauntlet.
Hey, Hiro, leaving so fast? This place needs all kinds of cleanup. And there's treasure.
The version of him from this fractal never met you before, so stop looking at him like you've seen a ghost. More so, he is not a consul for the Brotherhood anymore, he is just a soldier like everyone else. I guess you didn't manage to save Glint either? Another face from the past is that of Sarid, who we mentioned earlier. He is a weaponsmith that could craft and customize our weapons back in Guild Wars 1. This time he is not offering you his services, probably because he is nervous of all the outsiders that seem to know something they're not telling. His suspicion is understandable and maybe the Astral Ward should have been more considerate in the choice of investigators to send. Instead, the dwarves got to deal with Investigator Katie, who is a Sylvari, a race that was not around 250 years ago, and her colleague, Sergeant Garlog, an ogre. Although this race is one of the oldest in Tyria, the ogres managed to come down from the Ascalonian Blazer Edge Mountains only recently, so the dwarves are not really used to seeing ogres either.
Why are they all staring at me, Katie?
I guess most of them have never seen an ogre before, big guy. They're probably worried you'll step on them by accident.
I must be a strange sight. Perhaps they should have sent someone else.
Oh hey, don't get down. There's no one I'd rather have here. They'll come around once they see how much you can help them.
The voice has told us of the wizard's falsehoods. This world, its history, is a lie!
The voice? Do you hear yourselves right now? You're insane!
Serge is not the only dwarf that is suspicious. Some of them are understandably pretty pissed. You can help Palin stop these angry dwarves from creating a panic, which could in turn summon an avatar of rage. Instructor Bardic is another face from the past. He was a skill trainer we would find in the old Droknar's forge. That's why he is helping Battlemaster Flintfoot train the new recruits. You can participate in preparing the trainees for combat and even assist them when they face an unexpected encounter with the demon Galeen the Seething.
Afraid my soldiers don't need any training against the likes of you.
You're going to know suffering like you've never dreamed!
Another dwarf that would appreciate your help is Ranwita, who suspects that traitors are in their midst. She means a stone summon who might hide around in piles of rubble or suspicious trees.
Look at the size of that city. Never seen anything like it.
Could build better than that if I wanted to. Just a waste of good materials.
What are you on about now, Esme?
Huh, I'm right! They built so damn high when they could have used the fortifications of the Earth instead! And what good'll it do them? Airship will fly right over the top. We'd build down and end up much safer.
Well, that's a pretty good point. Aye, I'll give you that one.
And here is Esme, a dwarf with some strong opinions on human architecture. She thinks quarrying all that stone is wasteful when you could just build into the mountains. Makes her wonder how these people survived long enough to have a civilization. And that's it for this area. For now at least, depending on the development of the situation, we might come back to the forge. What blast from the past impressed you the most? Have you found some interesting bits that I didn't mention? If so, share the knowledge by dropping a comment below. Meanwhile, if you enjoyed this trip, show us some love with a like, and if you didn't do so already, check out our extensive series about Queensdale. Subscribe and click the notification button so you don't miss our next episode, when we will start exploring another beautiful map of Tyria. Here is a sneak peek! Until then, happy exploring!